You know, it's sort of pretty. It produces nitrogen and fixes nitrogen in the soil.
So
it's used a lot as a cover crop, but it's not a native plant, but it can be sort of invasive. That'll grow fairly aggressively, but it's not a bad one that you got to be pulling. And here, this the bittersweet is this vine.
Is bittersweet.
This is all bittersweet.
This is
and that's bad. Yeah.
Okay, but
and then usually if you get down into the roots of this and you pull it up, it's very orangey.
Yep, I've seen it.
You know it.
I've been pulling it up. I know all about it. Hang on, I'm going to mark that as bad for sure.
Yeah, definitely the bittersweet's key wildflower areas. A lot of the flowers are not native, but they're not really bad. See it coming off the top of the plant there, coming out the top.
And then it might be over.
Yeah, I'm sure you got it. Yeah, it's coming out of it.
Is that an aspen?
Yep, that's quaking aspen.
That's a pretty tree.
That's a nice tree. So keeping the...
You want to keep that, definitely.
Keep
the vines off of it.
Another key one to be getting rid of is the glossy buckthorn.
That's the glossy buckthorn.
This shrub is already producing fruit right now. None of it's black, but it's
definitely bad.
Yeah, you can see it's also coming up, underneath the red maple. One has white, sort of sideways lenticels on it, or lenticles. I never know how to say it, but they're pretty distinct, sort of lateral white marks.
All right.
It's producing fruit now, but if you... I don't know if this one's that old, a little bit older, it gets an orange pith, but the odor is like a black cherry, if you know that odor at all. It's kind of acrid odor to it.
Okay.
But this is, it's sort of classic. The berries come out kind of reddish, green, yellow, but those will quickly start turning black.
Okay.
I can see one down there. He's producing probably black raspberry.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
These are good. You can eat spurge, this stuff.
Yeah.
That's like...
I'm not that familiar with spurge. I know at least one of them seems to be fairly aggressive. I think one may be on the plant list for bad. I don't see it much, so I'm not that familiar with it. I might have to look it up.
I know there's
one's called like
kinds.
leafy spurge or something.
I did look
some
this
of the
up.
real low ground cover stuff, I would worry more about kind of your shrub layer and stuff, and the vines. If you have...
Like what about...
You can't stop everything,
Yeah, it's priorities.
This is a glossy buckthorn again. You see it's full of berries.
Yeah.
And one like that is, it's probably not even that old, but
no, it's not.
Ones like these could be only like 6, 7 years old. But behind it is a nice red maple that you want to use around the pond to produce shade and cover.
I was gonna plant.
You want to be able to see the pond, but also have some trees around it. But a lot of what's underneath it can probably come out. You got.
What is this white flower here?
Yeah, I think all this is multiflora rose, which is invasive and can come out. And it's a hard one to deal with just because it has the kind of hook, like a fish hook, thorns on it. It really tends to grab you.
Really thick gloves.
And if you try to pull away from it, some of this is not the end of the world. It's an invasive, but it actually has good wildlife berries and a sort of thick cover. So it is an invasive, but if you're gonna, prioritize, this isn't gonna spread as crazy as like the knotweed is your worst, then bittersweet, the buckthorn, then you've got the honeysuckle, the bush honeysuckles. I don't know if it's Tatarian or Moros, but that's what this is.
I don't know that.
And it's already got the producing fruit. A lot of the invasives will produce fruit early and copiously.
So this is the honeysuckle.
Once you sort of get the look of them, they just jump out at you.
It's the leaf
nice
pattern.
Catbirds eating it. So you've got more down where the catbird is with all those orangey berries. That's more of that. Looks like next to it you may have elderberry, which is actually a good plant. There's a shrub with white
the one with the white flowers?
Now. That'll produce, like, pretty sure that's elderberry. So that's a good one. Yeah, daylilies I like them, and they're pretty.
Which is the dogwood?
They're not a native. This is what I was thinking may have been elderberry in flower.
Oh, that's a dogwood?
Yeah.
Cool. That's something we want.
I don't know if it's silky or gray twig dogwood, but it's... Yeah, they'll produce berries and stay low, and so that's a good one.
I'm gonna put a white thing on that.
Have you treated this patch once before?
Yes, we have. We did in August. We cut down to about 1 inch and we applied. My husband has this little thing he can apply, like 1 cc.
Yeah, I mean doesn't look like it's grown back from that, but it's...
Yeah, a lot of it looks like that, but then it just comes up again, and Chuck told us another 3 or 4 years. Yeah, at least.
But especially if you get new shoots coming up, you can try to dig them out and pull out as much of what the rhizome is, because any bit of that root system will just... it can regenerate.
If you can pull it and get the rhizome up, that's a good thing.
As much of it as you can. In spots like this, it's almost impossible because it's so established, but when you start to see new little bits of it,
that's what I've done.
You might be able to
That's what I've been doing.
Knock it back.
Yep. And so over here, what else? Obviously this I might be able to pull this.
Daisy fleabane.
Oh yeah, is that good or bad?
It's fine. Hickory. So it's a nice...
That's a good one.
Yeah. So these are... if you do want some view of the pond, I think, you leave trees like this and that, but once you clear out like this stuff that's underneath, it's bad. You can always prune off a few of the lower limbs, so you have a canopy, but you still have visual access to the water. Your eastern red cedar is a nice tree.
I love that tree.
To keep.
And we already...
white pine coming in.
Did I already figure out... Oh yeah, this is the bad one. This is the maple, that's good. Yeah. That's the bad one. This is cedar. Yeah. This one is a cedar?
Yeah, eastern red cedar.
How do you tell
it's actually a juniper. It's called, the common name is eastern red cedar.
Okay.
But it's Juniperus virginiana, so it's actually a juniper.
Oh.
But they're nice
I like
for
that
wildlife,
tree.
the berries, they don't grow real fast. And
nice.
So it's nice to have some conifers for cover in the winter, the small white pine.
Yeah. And that right there is a buckthorn. The one right to your left.
This one?
Yeah.
This is not a glossy buckthorn. This one though is buckthorn. I think it's common buckthorn.
That.
Yeah, it's got sharper thorns on it. See these? They have these big spikes. If it's not, it could also be a hawthorn, which most of them also are not native.
So
I'm not positive. I would take it out.
Okay. It got really
big. You might end up saying, well, I've got the cedar, that red maple. That looks like, who are you there? Let's say white pine competing in there. So some of them, even if they're good, you can
thin them out.
You may need to thin. This one is definitely a good shrub. This is alder.
Oh.
The alder is it's a classic shrub around wetland edges.
Cool.
And that's what things like woodcock over. I think is like a kind of willow.
The smaller leaf.
Yeah.
Oop, watch out, you're getting stuck.
I think it's a type of willow. That's one I'm not sure about, but I don't think it's a bad invasive. So,
okay.
you know, if you decide you want to get the alder going, which is definitely nice, it's starting to get these little catkins going on it.
Oh yeah.
You have it down there as well. There's several more along the edge.
So we have a bunch of other bark
spots on it, but this is it's definitely a good one.
Okay.
So it might be this other kind of willowy one that you might want to thin out a little bit.
Okay.
Everything kind of behind me looks. This whole clump seems to be multiflora rose, buckthorn, honeysuckle, bittersweet. Like this whole clump.
Yeah, this should probably go.
There's another red maple up there.
Interesting.
It doesn't take long for nature to grow in with its own plan.
It's amazing, I know. Okay,
Remember when they'd worked the slope, it was denuded.
Oh yeah, there was nothing on it. And then when we moved in, it was a bunch of wildflowers, but nothing had grown up really far, I think because they had just probably mowed it or something.
Like that's an alder shrub, but if you got the bittersweet out of it and the knotweed out, then it gets, you know, you'll have a nicer looking shrub there.
So here, there was some knotweed here that I just took out, and I treated it a little tiny bit, but I just wanted it to not get any sun.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is gonna work, but I wanted to plant some juniper or dogwood or something that would be good to stabilize the bank, you know, so that there's no erosion.
Some of this stuff you can sort of whittle away at, but a lot of it, like down in there, it's sort of easier almost in the winter months, as long as you can still identify it, just because the leaves are down. And pretty tricky footing around there with stones and things.
Right, but once that phragmites is out of there, we can actually walk on the beach down there. But all that stuff.
So that's the alder. That's a good
alder is good.
Yeah.
I wonder if it likes being transplanted.
I think it probably takes pretty well. I think it probably spreads on its own pretty good. So that's the one that I'm just not sure about. That might be one to get more information. Maybe I could take a larger piece back and get back to you.
It's a willow or whatever.
I'm thinking it's willow, but it doesn't